Welcome to Round Hill Radio. Through our conversations, we discover the holy and the ordinary, look for moments of grace and peace, and redefine what we're talking about when we talk about faith. Hey, Ed.
How you doing, Leslie?
Good. You already got your Bible open.
It's open.
It's ready to go. So we're diving in to Matthew. This is actually a very good transition because in our last episode, Lily and I were discussing Bibles.
Oh, perfect.
And various types and kinds, and I did a show and tell with my grandfather's Bible, which is musty and well loved.
They tend to get that way.
Yes, but so we're in Matthew.
We're in Matthew.
Tell me.
Yes, and this Bible is interesting because it was damaged by a water leak in the office some years ago, so it has an extra sort of grit to it.
Very nice.
Little extra texture.
Good.
Yes, this is from the Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 13, and let's see what Jesus is up to.
Let's do it.
That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat beside the sea. Such great crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat there while the whole crowd stood on the beach. And he told them many things in parables, saying, "Listen, a sower went out to sow. And as he sowed, some seeds fell on the path, and the birds came and ate them up. Other seeds fell on rocky ground, where they did not have much soil, and they sprang up quickly since they had no depth of soil. But when the sun rose, they were scorched, and since they had no root, they withered away. Other seeds fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them. Other seeds fell on good soil and brought forth grain, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. Let anyone with ears listen." Quite a story, right?
It's a good story.
Yeah. There's a lot to like there. I mean, quite apart from the story, I like the fact that, there's so many people around, he's got to get distance.
Yeah.
A little space.
Yeah.
So he goes out in a boat, and a picture of the boat kind of rocking, right? And they're listening, and he doesn't tell them a story about water. He tells them a story about seeds and ground.
Seeds and ground.
I thought about this. Didn't our wonderful music song leader, Dustin, teach us the Johnny Appleseed song, which I hadn't sung or heard in a long time.
Throwback.
Used to sing that like all the time in elementary school.
Yep.
And there it was again, right? But the sower, somebody who sows generously and leaves that extraordinary legacy. So yes, parable of the sower.
Parable of the sower. It's the parable of the sower, but it's also kind of the parable of the soil.
Great comment. It is, just listening to it, reading it this time, it's like most of it's not great.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Not well received.
No. Thorny, rocky ground, or very thin soil, but the sower is reckless.
Just throwing stuff out. That's how I garden.
You're on your own, seeds.
I mean, truly.
That's how I would do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be a helicopter parent. So out they go, these seeds.
Yeah.
So, I can't come up with a name, but there have been commentators who've written about this who to say it's really a story about a very extravagant and wasteful God.
Okay.
I would think seeds are not necessarily easy to come by 2,000 years ago.
Sure.
Yet here's somebody who's really not, I'm thinking
just giving it a go.
More like my style of gardening. And it looks like it's rock, but let's give it a try.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't seem like it's very well conceived.
Right.
I'm just going to take these and toss them out there. But the ones that do land on good soil are beyond amazingly fruitful.
Right.
100-fold, 60, 30.
Yeah. It's kind of like that, you miss every shot you don't take kind of a situation.
Yeah, exactly.
You just got to go for it and expect some failure.
Totally true, right? And so that's the thing. And I guess what got me thinking about this, so first of all, this is actually one of the texts appointed through the lectionary for this Sunday. So that lectionary being a 3-year cycle of readings that was put together, probably several decades ago now by an ecumenical team of scholars drawn from many, many churches of many backgrounds. They chose 4 or 5 texts for every single Sunday, divided them out into 3 years. So this one always appears in the summer. Makes sense. And the question on my mind, which I shared with you earlier, is that, this particular story was at least of some interest to Louis Comfort Tiffany and Company.
Okay.
So the great Tiffany glassmakers, they made all these gorgeous mosaics and stained glass. They made mosaics often composed of tens of thousands of pieces of glass, tiny glass, which they then installed in churches, I think all around the world, but especially in New England. There are two themes that they really loved, the resurrection. And this shows Jesus after his death, basically risen above the tomb.
Yeah.
And one of the other very popular images was of Jesus as a shepherd. So he's usually surrounded by sheep. He's got a shepherd's staff. It's kind of an obvious connection. But the other one that they didn't use nearly as much, but occasionally, was the parable of the sower.
Okay.
And I find that fascinating because there's so many other images they could have used,
Right.
but they chose this one. So my question to you earlier was, if you were entrusted with the design of a church building, and it was up to you to recommend to the church building committee an image that would be placed at the front of the sanctuary that the congregation would see every single Sunday forever,
Yeah.
what would it be?
It's a great question.
And some churches chose this parable. And that really has me thinking, what was it about that? Resurrection seems obvious.
Sure.
Jesus as the good shepherd seems pretty obvious too. I can see, especially when you think about how rural New England was when Louis Comfort Tiffany, they were creating those, although they created them for city churches too. So anyway, that just set me thinking, what about this parable and that little experiment, What would it be? Because we have a tapestry, and the tapestry depicts a cross, but it's interesting because it has this sort of swirls through it. When you look at it,
it's
really
almost abstract. It doesn't scream cross
No,
at
it
you
doesn't.
because the coloring is very subtle. It's very tonal. It's very tonal.
Yeah, I like that.
Can I say too that my relationship with that symbol has evolved
Okay.
through our conversations here at Round Hill Radio? And I still remember we had a conversation about this some time back now. What is time? I don't know. It's years, I think, at this point. And you said that sometimes you think of the cross as a symbol of failure, to bring it back to the idea of failure from earlier, which I think is very good. I really connected with that because I think this idea of there's so much in that, and there's so much, obviously, there's more to the story beyond it. But I know, sometimes we see rather, for lack of a better word, gruesome depictions of Jesus on the cross, which are difficult. This one is at our church is just a flat, silhouette of a cross, if you will. And I think that's really interesting because there's something about, to me personally, about how I tend to be a little failure averse. And I will avoid doing things if the chances of failure are high enough.
Yes.
And there's something rather failure embracing, again, about that. And then also I think about this idea of the sower, that you got to try. And if you're not trying, you're not failing. But then it's all part of the journey, and getting comfortable with that feels like an important
I think that's a great connection between the cross and what's going on in that parable, where there's clear failure.
Yeah.
Right? It's not, it's just not going to work. At least 75% of the time.
Right.
In early Christianity, there was actually we have fortunately been able to locate graffiti. And some of the graffiti is actually about Jesus.
Really?
And one of the pieces, I believe, shows him, it shows him crucified, but he's a donkey.
What?
And I mean, it is like an early depiction of this is what a loser looks like.
Oh, wow.
And so the fact that, the Christian experiment failed in the sense that if you'd asked anybody in the weeks or let's say years after the crucifixion of Jesus, well, it went on for a period of time, right? Estimates vary from 2 to 3 years in terms of his active ministry. And then poof.
2 to 3 years? That's it?
That's the range.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
He made quite a stir.
Yeah. Right?
Goodness.
Depending on which, how the Gospels depict him.
Wow.
But not a super long period of time.
Super long.
So if that's the case, then he dies, the disciples scatter. The Gospels are misleading because it gives you the sense that boom, 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 right after the death, things happen.
Everything's fine.
Whew, that was close, but we're out of it.
Yeah. With like a ta-da.
Yeah. It's not really working like that. And I think there's debate, then in the early Christian tradition is what is this cross? What does it depict?
Right.
So I think that one of the interesting things about it from the Roman standpoint, I mean, Christians may have understood it one way, but Romans, I think, really understood it as it's a disaster.
Yeah.
This is some peasant, Mediterranean Jewish peasant, as he's been called, in the backwater country that we could care less about. And he had some popularity for a few years, and then he died on the town garbage dump.
Yeah.
So what are we worried about him for?
Right.
And I think that the reason that image intrigues me is that they had really good reason to worry. Because it took 3 centuries, but it's actually by the late 200s that Christianity is being given recognition. It's not really until the 4th century that it becomes more or less the state religion.
Right.
But it's really even earlier than that some special recognition is being given to Christian faith. Just happened to be reading a little bit about this week. But it's interesting that this happens. So I guess, to your point, what does it mean to put an image on the front of your sanctuary forever and ever that for the world looked at that as a failure?
Right.
We want to look at it as an instrument of triumph.
Right.
And I think that's us doing our very best not to see it for what it really was at the beginning. Be real. It was an instrument of execution. It was in service to the death penalty, and it showed, this is what happens if you speak up and speak out. So it's really interesting to put something like that.
Yeah.
And I think you're drawing this really neat connection between that and the parable, because most of the parable is also about lack of success.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm thinking about this phrase, you exercise to failure.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Because it's the only way that the muscle fibers will be challenged enough in order to grow.
Yeah.
And so here's what's happening. It's faith to failure. There is a piece of a poem by the German poet Rainer Maria Rilke. And I don't know what this says about me or my ministry, that I used to think this was like the best thing. And I still do, but I look at it a little differently. But Rilke said something like, we seek to be defeated by greater and greater beings.
I'm just picturing like Super Nintendo and the final boss is really what that. I'm making weird connections.
Not
today,
where
guys.
I would have gone.
I'm sorry.
But if that does the, yeah.
Say it again. We seek to be.
Yeah, we seek. I think it is to be defeated.
Defeated.
It's not, may not be beings, but it's by these greater and greater challenges.
Yeah.
And the gist of the poem is that this is about someone, or maybe several someones, who deliberately put themselves in places where they will be defeated, and then yet keep going up to the next level to be defeated there.
Yeah.
Implying, I think, that there is actually growth taking place through all of that.
Yeah.
And I actually thought of that as one of the best metaphors for ministry, and especially ministry, in the last 50 years when the church has taken a big tumble. Average church, I think in the article I was sharing with you, average church attendance in the United States right now, I think is 50. So, and that's given the fact that you've got a lot of churches that might have thousands of people coming,
And a lot of churches that have 5.
and a lot of churches that have 5 for sure.
Yeah.
Right? So, and right now, it feels like we're being defeated by greater forces. People talk about people's schedules, sports on Sunday, which always gets blamed, poor sports on Sunday, and on and on and on. We have the usual, blame objects.
Yeah.
But I guess my point in all of this is that cross would be a reminder that there are greater forces pushing back and down on us. And those forces are at play in the parable.
So maybe we need to be a greater force for good.
Wow. I think that...
I'm done. That's it. That's my one for the day.
There's not much that can be said after that. I love that.
Thank you so much.
And it's a summer, too.
It's a shame I'm not more humble.
Well, listen, you be you.
Which I appreciate. That's why I like working with you.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
Well, but it's on, literally it's staring at it on your sweatshirt.
Where am I? There we go.
You teed me up as you always do.
With my apparel.
With your apparel, which we actually got to get more of those.
I love it.
It's great. I think there's so much there.
Yeah. Keep sowing.
Keep sowing.
Keep walking towards the whatever, whatever that thing is that looks like it's too much.
Yeah. Keep failing.
Keep walking into it.
Do it.
And what are all of our, I heard this line once, I think actually it's the title of a biography. The impossible takes longer. I love that line.
That's great.
Isn't that?
Yeah.
Impossible just takes a little longer.
Takes a little longer.
So I think that's what these stories are saying. You really have to, if you really want to be that greater force for good, I guess the message here is you've got to really outsow it.
Outsow it. You got to take all the shots.
Yep. Put it all out there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't hold anything back. And that's the only way to overcome, because we're using little things. And we don't necessarily have the big tools, so we have to use the little stuff.
Little seeds.
And and the Spirit. So put all that together, and it's pretty powerful.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
And thank you guys all so much for listening. Round Hill Radio is brought to you by the friends and members of Round Hill Community Church. For more information, please visit roundhillradio.org.